and welcome to this week's character profile of Imran Habeeb. Imran.
Ooh,
amazing. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I know, finally, we've had our list of characters that we haven't done yet, and it's like, we got to talk about Imran son, but he's still such a new character, isn't he? Surely, what is there to say? But we're coming up on nearly 4 years of Imran Habeeb, Charlie D'Amelio on Coronation Street. It's about time.
Nearly 4 years.
But I know, about time we had a look in at.
He's had quite a few stories as well, really.
He's had a bit. We'll find out.
He's interesting because he's changed, hasn't he? I think his personality.
He's definitely got a lot less Mancunian from his first appearance.
Is that what it was?
Apparently so. But obviously Imran is a very special character to the podcast as well, because we've become quite close friends with Charlie D'Amelio since he's... Yeah.
Close friends?
Yes, literally. I was just texting him the other day.
Okay.
Since the podcast started. And so it's going to be quite funny talking about him and, separating Charlie from Imran and everything. I certainly hope that Charlie's morals are not in the gutter like Imran Habeeb, Dirty Dog. This is the thing with him, isn't it? I love Imran as a character. I really, really do love him. But at the moment, he's testing my faith with what's going on. We're recording this, for any future listeners, mid-October 2021. And Imran's done the dirty, hasn't he, on Toyah? No question about it. He admitted it on Monday's episode. He has slept with somebody else. Disappointing, Imran, honestly. And I think, as with any character who's still in the middle of an ongoing storyline, this discussion could very soon become completely out of date. But never mind, this is the nature of soap, isn't it? People change and do things differently, and a drop of a hat. I don't know. But as for now, I will say that I still do like Imran. Bit disappointed with where they've taken his character in recent months. Gemma, let's run down his stats, and then we'll go down memory lane a little bit with Imran. So I'm always very sad about this when characters don't have birthdays, but Imran still officially does not have a birthday. He doesn't have an age. It's shocking, isn't it? He's like 21, surely.
What?
If he's a day.
What star sign do you think he is?
Oh, good question.
Scorpio.
Why?
The evil ones.
He's not evil. He's clearly Libra, the scales of justice. Like you, so is his birthday or any time like now, really, I would say.
Libras are the best.
There was
really,
something, didn't they say something? I was just thinking about how old he is. They mentioned that he and Sabine were, did they like class of 2011
they did
or
actually
something the
say
other
that.
week?
So what does that make him? I don't know. What's the law school? How long does that last?
7? No, is that a doctor?
No, I don't think it's 7 years.
I don't know. Well, Charlie's 32, isn't he? So let's plump him round and say he's exactly the same age as that.
Giving it away, he's
definitely younger than Toyah, isn't he?
He might be.
Yeah. She's got herself a bit of a toy boy
35.
in 35. Oh yeah, of course. No, she's got a bit of herself a toy boy in Imran, hasn't she? So we don't know about his birthday or his date of birth anything. But what?
It was. Let's say it was the 2nd October, like me.
Yeah, go on then. Let's give him if Corrie aren't going to give him a birthday, then we should.
Yeah, we will.
The other thing with these characters that don't have birthdays is then that's when you kind of look back on Corriepedia and say, what was he doing on his birthday in previous years? Oh, it wasn't mentioned.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't know when he was born, but we do know whose legs he emerged from between, and that's Sarah
horrible.
Habeeb, and his dad was Hassan Habeeb, R.I.P. no longer with us, and he's got a sister, or he did at least. Right, these Habeebs are dropping, aren't they?
Family member.
Yeah, he hasn't got any brothers.
We don't know if we've got any brothers or other...
Well, we know that there's aunts that would be disappointed in the fact that Rana and Kate were seeing each other, weren't we? But
so you think that he hasn't got any other siblings?
I think he has no more siblings. No,
but he might have some cousins.
Yeah, he's got an ex-wife. There it is with this, because Sabine is still Sabine Habeeb, isn't she? She's not dropped that surname.
I find that really interesting that she was obviously a very independently minded and ambitious woman, and often these militant women with their feminist ideas don't even change their names to start with.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't. What's the point of getting married? That's what I say. But she's still not changed her name back.
No, it's a cool name.
I wonder if she's like, this is my professional name.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I've got all the business cards printed out now.
Yeah, the thing is, she obviously...
I've got a nice little gold plaque to sit on my desk.
She obviously really didn't... it was her idea to split up and get divorced, I think.
Well, I mean,
because he cheated
was,
on her. And so you'd think that she'd be like, don't like that anymore.
Maybe, but
maybe she was like, no, my professional name is going to stay that, and I don't want people to know my business.
I think sometimes on Coronation Street they just forget. Like, Rita is still Rita Tanner, despite the fact that Dennis was a bit of a dirty dog on her.
Well, I think I have a different... my thoughts about name changes are different to women who change their names, because obviously... they have a more of a... Like, I would have no attachment whatsoever. If I changed my name to something else, I'd be like, whatever. Could be anything. I'll change it again. I don't care.
He first appeared on Coronation Street on the 17th of November 2017, so he's just short of 4 years at the moment. And Coropedia is
What a great 4 years.
By the end of September this year, he'd been in like the early 300s. I'm going to say he's been anywhere between 300 and 10,000 episodes of Coronation Street at this point, but let's say around about 315 or so. And if we hadn't said so already, which of course we had, but we always put this at the end, he is played by Charles de Mello.
Yep, Tazza de Mello.
What a fancy surname, love it. So what
Fancy
do we know?
name.
What do we know?
Charlie's a fancy name.
Charles.
Yeah.
What do we know about Imran already, his background? Well, he was born into quite a strict Muslim family. I think we got that impression from seeing how Hassan and Sarah reacted to the whole Kana debacle. His parents obviously also put a lot of pressure on him to get a well-paid, high-powered job, hence the lawyering. He trained alongside Sabine at some law school somewhere, and he eventually went on to marry her. I don't think... I don't think they were married particularly long at all. He ended up kissing Sabine's best friend on her stag night, and that well and truly put the kibosh on.
Wow, so they really didn't.
No, I don't know. See, I should have read this properly. I don't know whether it was on Sabine's hen night that Imran kissed her friend, or the friend's hen night. I'm thinking it's probably that. I think they were married for a little bit longer than that. But yeah, not too long, because as I say, they're still quite young, aren't they?
Well, see, we know somebody who was born into a very strict Muslim family who didn't necessarily believe wholeheartedly in the religion, but still was pressured to marry very young, and it went about as well as this did.
Yes, exactly.
So perhaps get married for love in future.
Good plan.
That's my tip.
That seems to be the best bet. Gemma, what to tell us about Imran's early days? 2017. I'm going to give this to you. The 2017, the best year that we've said. It's since we started the podcast. 2017 is our favourite year, isn't it?
It was a gift. He turned up at Rana and Zidane's wedding. Which wedding was this?
This was the actual at the mosque, proper religious, that one,
right,
with the imam. He was quite funny. He looked especially beardy. If you go back and look at Imran's first appearance, he's got a big old bushy beard, hasn't he?
I believe I defined it as a cultural beard at the time. This was a I've just come out of a play playing something else beard, wasn't it? And he also had a slightly different accent. I've talked to Charlie about this. Well, he's obviously been on the podcast a couple of times, and he did talk about the fact that he at one point he thought, on Coronation Street I need to do a Mancunian accent, and then after that attempt. That's not it, no. Well, this is why they haven't asked me
to tone it down a little bit,
because I tried to do the accent, and every time they're like, no.
No, Gemma, no. Do you remember we got him a birthday card that first year as well, with massive bearded man on the front. Love it.
Yes, beards.
Yeah.
Mention beards again.
No.
He, interestingly, at this time, he was quite close to Alia, because she and Rana were best friends at university, and Luke gets annoyed because he feels a bit jealous. Now, this relationship between Imran and Alia has gone nowhere.
No, not particularly. I mean, Imran did buy into speed dial at some point, didn't he?
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about
it. But no, I if you were to say that Imran and Alia, they barely even acknowledge each other if they pass each other in the street at the moment.
Because he had a kind of like big brotherly kind of
It was. Yeah.
It was
you're
sweet.
Right.
I liked it. I thought it was nice, but Alia's so annoying.
I mean, yeah.
He's like, forget about that.
He was very supportive of Alia and Yasmin during the Jeff storyline though last year, wasn't he? But you don't get the idea that they're friends. But then who is friends on Coronation Street at the moment? Basically nobody.
He learns about Barlow's solicitors from Rosie, who, let's not forget, is an LOL.
She is, Lady of Law.
It's like Sabine.
Sabine is an LOL.
Yeah, she's like the head LOL. She's an LMAO. Don't even ask me what that is. Sabine kicks him out in December. So at this point, in 2017, they're still together.
Correct.
So really, they haven't actually been split up for that long. They must have only got divorced recently, because you can't get divorced for like a year.
Yeah, but I'm saying we didn't know they might have been married for a little bit longer than a year at this point.
No, yeah. Okay, but how long does it take to get divorced though? Do you know what I'm saying? He gets kicked out in December, moves in with Yasmin, gets a job with Adam, and he gets Todd's job.
Yes, Todd made an abrupt disappearance from Coronation Street at the tail end of 2017, which was
causing a bit of a kerfuffle.
All good for Imran. Yeah, jump right in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
Would you jump in my grave so quick? Says Todd.
Well, he did have a grave. Oh no, it wasn't. That was. Why did I say? I think Todd had a grave.
Todd's not
I'm confusing
dead.
him. I'm confusing him with Andy Carver in my head for some reason.
Gulp.
That's a bit weird. Okay, so Imran's first.
To be honest,
case,
Andy and current Todd actor look more similar.
Yes, that's maybe what I'm thinking of there. So in 2018, beginning of 2018, we saw his first case, I believe, when he defended Luke after he had a bit of a punch-up with those nasty racists. Do you remember the people who were in the bistro with Alia and making disparaging comments about her background? And Luke, the honourable soul he is, bopped them on the nose and got in trouble with that. And Imran defended him. And I would say on the whole, yes, he has not won all his cases, but he's got a fairly good record.
I think that that Imran is the social justice warrior of the soliciting world in Coronation Street, and it's kind of interesting that this hasn't been teased out a bit more between him and Adam, because Adam's like, anything goes, who cares, earn your money, get out. It doesn't really matter who's right or wrong. Same as Sabine, but Imran's like, I must protect the good and the innocent.
Totally, which is why this current story, where he's being asked to defend Harvey Gaskell, probably rubs him up the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he knows that he's a massive wrong-un.
Any Harvey I'll be defending is Harvey Nichols. Great place to shop.
So the first big story that we see Imran involved in was the Rana story, where she was having this relationship with Kate. It was never defined as bisexual or lesbian or anything particularly, was it? But she was friends with Kate. She ended up in a relationship with her, and Rana confesses this to him. And he's also, coming out of a relationship, a marriage that wasn't working quite so well. He sympathised with his sister.
Well, he's like, yeah, I also shagged about.
Yes. See, this is the thing with Imran. Originally, this is the thing. He supposedly cheated on Sabine, but like I've said recently on the podcast, previously it had been established that he had kissed a woman, and that's not exactly the same as shagging about, which is what he's done now. And I'm thinking that Coronation Street writer's saying what he's done now, where he's got this mystery woman who probably isn't going to be a mystery for very much longer after we record this.
No.
It's completely within his character to have done this, but I'm thinking still not.
I'm thinking there's going to be some kind of really heartbreaking reason that he definitely had to shag her.
I'm hoping so.
She needed some kind of special injection. That could only be done with a certain bit of your anatomy. I'm just throwing ideas out here. Who knows?
I don't know.
He's such a nice bloke. I can't imagine him doing anything naughty at all.
No, I know. Anyway, so he was very supportive of Rana over this, and there was. Do you remember when Imran rescued Kate from the kidnapping? Rescued Rana, because the Habeeb's family, that Hassan and Sarah, decided to whisk Rana away to Pakistan, was it? And there was quite a fun scene. Quite intense scene where Imran and the others rescued her.
You keep being
honourable,
running around, lesbianing it up. So.
Gotta get that out.
Get you back to Pakistan.
Yeah, so Imran and Kate and Yasmin and Zidane staged
no.
a bit of an intervention. So that's kind of
got to stay here.
So round about this time, Imran was definitely cementing his we were getting to an idea about what his values are, and that he is, like you said, a force for good on the street.
See, I think...
Not one of those dodgy lawyers.
They're still floundering, I think, here to sort of define what Imran is, because also that year he invests in speed dial.
Yeah, that's odd.
And we've never had anything like, what the hell? I'm just saying, what the hell here? Because
he's had no business leanings.
Invested in it.
No, he's not.
What happened?
I can't remember. Did Jeff buy it out? Or,
but the thing is, he
Zidane,
doesn't seem. I don't want to be rude.
They bought him.
But he and Toyah, I don't know what they're doing. Like, do they heat their home by burning £50 notes? Because they're both professionals. They live in like a dinky flat in the north, which is cheaper than here. What are they spending their money on that he needs to grub $6,000 out of an envelope to get blood splatter analysis done on a pair of trainers?
Good point.
I'm just baffled. 1 minute he's got money to invest in a restaurant, the next minute he's scrounging around.
No, I thought maybe that was divorce money. I think maybe it was. I think it might have been Sabine money.
Well, Sabine's like, here you go. Get lost.
No, look. No,
you don't get money when you get divorced, Michael.
Well,
I would have done it ages
I think it was
ago.
family money. Because Sabine turns up later that year, doesn't she? Well,
there's two Sabines.
Yeah, this is the old Sabine, older actress Sabine. So Hassan dies that summer. I did enjoy that scene because that was some really heart-wrenching stuff from Rana, wasn't it? Because he had completely disowned his daughter for cheating on Zidane. Ending up with Kate, turning lesbian or whatever you want to say in his eyes, and then when he was on his deathbed because he had a stroke on his birthday party and is rushed to hospital, Rana says, "Oh no, it was just a phase, or I'm not really in love with Kate, or something," and so she denies her identity, her true self, to her dad on his deathbed, and he like squeezes. Makes her. He squeezes her hand to say, "Oh, I'm proud of you."
It was really difficult, and it's also again a parallel to our friend who his father died, and they never really got on after this friend of ours had his divorce, and his father always treated him differently. And when his father died, it really knocked him because he'd been trying to seek this acceptance his whole life and never got it. Whereas so that to me, when I saw Rana do this, when she said, and she denounced her love for Kate to get this forgiveness, it really rang true to me. And it also, you felt really bad for her because she actually never got it. She lied to make him feel better, but it would have made her feel worse because lying to your dad on his deathbed, horrible.
Well, Imran was having a tough time there as well.
Well, yeah.
So
it's not about Rana.
Sometimes when I think of how Imran is in some of these scenes, I can just picture him like standing in the corner of the room, being very tall and just kind of eyes closed, kind of go, oh. He's good at that. He's good at that. So he gets a bit drunk after this and spends the night with Leanne.
See, we're establishing a pattern here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
He gets stressed out, he gets drunk, and he shags around.
But he wasn't cheating on anyone at this point, was he?
Well, there you go. You see, does that excuse his behaviour later? Because it's like, look, it's not about whether he's in a relationship or not. It's about the shagging about. It's not personal. He didn't mean to cheat on you.
No, but
it's just his natural reaction.
While he was going out with Leanne, that was when he started seeing Toyah at the same time.
I mean, really, he should think about maybe going to Lush and get some nice bubble bath stuff. Have a nice relaxing hot bath. Get the iPad. Watch a few episodes of Law and Order or something. Chill out.
So when Hassan has his funeral, this is when Sabine turns up and she sees Imran there and demands half of his assets in a divorce settlement. And I think this was around the time that he may be uninvested in speed dial. I can't remember, but anyway, this is when it kind of comes out about why the two of them split up in the first place and the fact that he'd been kind of a little bit unfaithful.
See, I really can't remember Sabine from this time at all.
Check her out on Currypedia.
But I can't.
She's there.
Yeah, but I can't imagine current Sabine turning up to Imran's dad's funeral and going, "Where's my cash?"
I don't think she was quite so sassy as the Zora Bishop incarnation.
No, I really like her.
I think she's great.
Really
She's really, really good. Yeah. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Imran has got another case on the go, and this time he is definitely defending a wrong one. Duncan Radfield, remember him? So he was the father of Rosie's mate, Olivia, was she called? I think.
Yes.
But he was. He'd got Sally Webster into some bother.
Didn't he commit fraud or something?
He committed fraud. It was to do with collecting like mayoral funds or getting Sally to invest in his dodgy business.
He had a little woman as well, didn't he? He was also up to dodgy stuff. I remember they had that confrontation in the office.
Yeah. But anyway, Imran was defending Duncan. We knew that he was guilty as sin, but this is also when a kind of a pattern picked up, and I don't think Imran does this quite so bad. I think he's learned a lesson, but there was a period of time when he was not so great at looking after confidential documents, was he?
No, his GDPR, his adherence to GDPR was really poor.
Well, I think this may have been before GDPR.
They're like, look, do you think the government's like, we have to urgently launch some kind of scheme?
These solicitors are just dropping important paperwork all over the place.
Like, solicitors leaving lists of witnesses all over the place. Ministers are leaving like databases of voter information.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Barlow's offices as well, it's a total pigsty, and there's just random papers all over the place.
Yeah, but that's because Leanne doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah, no Leanne, no Rosie.
She's lazy.
So this time he drops a list of witnesses in the cafe, which Sally picks up. And she's like, you're getting everyone as against me. And she also, at this point, reveals to Leanne and Toyah that Imran is seeing both of them behind each other's back to try and get back at Imran, the fact that that he's fighting against her and everything.
Poor Toyah.
So,
this is like the second time he's cheated on her.
Well, yeah.
The first time it was just funny shenanigans.
This was totally funny shenanigans. It does, like you say, we are building a pattern of Imran here as a bit of a womanizer. But
that song, you know, that Britney Spears song is actually written about Imran. I bet nobody knew that.
No, it's true.
The lorry driver song.
Yeah. So they found out that he'd been seeing both of them, and rather than have it out in the middle of the street, they decided to have a little bit of fun first, didn't they? And invited into the bistro together, where on the kind of a double date, like a threesome date sort of thing, and they both kind of are fluttering their eyelashes at him and making the moves, and
he's like,
basically
really
saying, we're up for a threesome if you are. And he didn't know what to say, and there's some really funny screenshots of this scene online, isn't there? And he's there in his purple polo top, looking very much out of his depth while he's in the pincer grip of Toyah and Leanne.
Stuck between two batters.
Anyway, they in the end reveal what they know, and he's slung out on his ear. He also earns himself a bit of a bop on the nose from Tim when he discovers that he's defending Duncan, and Sally's obviously innocent here. Toyah helps him out, and this is when they agree to be friends, and that soon turns into a full-on relationship. So by the end of 2018, those two are loved up together, living in Leanne's flat with Nick, Victoria Court. Everything's hunky-dory, rosy.
And that's the end.
That is not the end.
Story.
2019, Gemma, I pass to you.
Well, sad times for Imran. His beautiful, I was going to say daughter.
No.
His beautiful sister, Rana, runs into the factory and the roof only falls on her head.
Well, she's there getting a bag, isn't she?
She goes to get her bag.
On her wedding day.
Yeah, on the day of her wedding, dressed up in a lovely little wedding outfit, and she just dies, doesn't she? Mm. And Imran does a little cry.
He does a proper little cry outside. Again, more kind of fluttering those lovely long eyelashes of his, and looking very tragic.
And Toyah wears a fabulous fur jacket.
She was wearing her purple pomegranate jacket then, wasn't she? I don't know, dragon fruit jacket.
Can't wear that anymore because it's got the stench of death about it. Although she did wear it again.
Poor Imran. He has really been through the ringer.
Do you think she was like, went into her wardrobe and she's like, this is the jacket I wore on the day that my boyfriend's sister was brutally killed in a horrible industrial accident. But I don't think Imran noticed I was wearing it. So I think I can probably get away with wearing it again.
Yeah.
I don't want to trigger anything, but it is fabulous.
So fabulous that you bought one yourself. Where is it?
I did. I think it's in storage. Anyway, it comes out of the memorial. Oh no, he's like, I will find who is responsible and bring them to justice.
Yeah, how you doing with that, Imran? 2 years later.
2 years later, he's like, what's that about? Who?
No, it's Rick. He says he's done. He thinks it's Rick, but it was Gary.
One
Gary
and done.
dropped the roof on his head, on her head. I mean,
I thought it was Dorothy.
you weirdo.
Why?
I know what that's a reference to.
It comes out at the. I thought that said it comes out with a musical. Now we know
Imran,
Charlie
De Mello
DeMello would
loves a good
absolutely
musical.
love a musical out of any sort. If it was a memorial for Kate, I think
Rana. Charlie
Rana.
has to prevent himself just bursting out into song or any dramatic
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, it's kind of like the episode of Buffy where everything's a musical. Comes out with the memorial, not the musical, that Carla knew the roof was dodgy, and Imran goes off on one, and he ends up roofing Peter.
No,
apparently.
that's supposed to say doofing Peter.
Doof.
He gives him a good old doof. I did a
I mean, when you
I
say
was-
roofing Peter, it made it sound like he kind of crushes him to death.
No. When I was doing some research for this, and the Coripedia page kind of went up to 2018 or something, and then there's some. I can remember a bit more about what happened recently. But I was like, what did Imran do in 2019? So we got on Google and I searched Imran Habeeb 2019, and the top 2 results that came up were both videos. One of him was punching Nick, and one of them was him punching Peter. So he was a bit handy
Stunt
with his
work.
fists in 2019. Yeah.
So Nick gets arrested because they think he's the one that was in charge of the roof collapse.
Yeah, well, that's because they find the report about the roof under his pillow,
Wayne.
isn't it? Wayne Hayes, Roy's ex-foster son, who is now working as a building quality control investigating ginger or something. He's written this report about it. The report gets stolen from his car.
Yeah.
It turns up underneath Nick's pillow. Toyah finds it, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's for some reason cleaning the sheets, which is gross. Leave other people's beds alone. And
then
Nick gets arrested.
Don't ask any more questions about how
The
the report
report-
got under Nick's pillow, because 2 years
Who's
later,
got it?
we
Who had
don't
it?
know.
Well, who stole it? Do we know? We
I
don't even know who
I
stole
don't think
it.
we know who stole it, how it got underneath Nick's pillow. Surely at some point the Coronation Street writers had an idea about
Yeah, they
what
must
was
have had a
going on
plan.
there, but they just didn't ever explain it.
Like, oh, that's just irrelevant. I lost the bit of paper that I wrote it down on.
There aren't very many dangling threads on Coronation Street, but that one's a big one.
I'm sorry, but
Just wanna
that's
tease
wrong.
that
There
thread.
are quite a lot of things that never go anywhere.
This is one of the most infamous among
Recent,
our listeners to our podcast.
Okay,
anyway.
so this whole thing causes a big rift between Nick and Leanne and Toyah and Imran. See, this is the other thing that's emerging as a bit of a theme for Imran here, is like isolating himself from the rest of the street residents by taking sides in some kind of argument.
He doesn't mind being a pariah, does he?
No, and he doesn't mind making Toyah be a pariah either.
No,
And she's like, look, I'm used to
She's
it.
got no choice.
Ever since I was dating Spider, I'm used to people
Thinking I'm a bit weird.
having a go at me about juices and wheatgrass shots. So Nick and Leanne, Toyah and Imran having a feud.
So they have to move out.
Imran punches Nick and they move out, move in with Kate.
Kate and who else is there? Was Craig there? I don't know.
And this
if Craig
is the
was there.
flat they're in
Ryan,
now.
This is
19A
19A
Victoria
Street. Is it?
Which
It's been
really
there
does
since.
feel like it. The way the set is decorated, it's a bit kind of bright and a bit garish, isn't it? It kind of reminds me of if Friends was set in modern day Britain, their flat would look like 19A Victoria Street. Like, oh, we're a bit quirky and fun. And we don't have any idea about design sense. Gary confesses to Imran that he killed Rana.
What?
Actually, no. It was Rick
It was Nick.
Nealon,
It was Nick.
who sabotaged the roof to ruin Gary's reputation.
Yeah. So
And everyone's like, okay, cool.
I remember it coming out in the press at the time that Gary was going to make this major confession. It's like, oh, it's about time. We've known for a little while now that Gary was the one responsible for the roof. It's about time that he fessed up. But it was a total soap fake out.
Yeah.
It's my fault that your sister is dead
Because of Rick.
Because Rick was trying to make
me look bad.
make me look bad as a builder because I was the one that was working on the roof at the time. That doesn't count, Gary.
No, Gary, you
And
weasel.
two and a bit years later, we're still waiting for justice.
Now, this is when he did this after he'd already killed Rick.
Yes.
So he's like, no one's going to find out because Rick's dead.
Exactly.
And Sharon doesn't
pinned
care.
it on him. Just like Callum's death is pinned on Tony Stewart, and that's what people still believe.
Exactly. Nobody cares.
I think they need to both come out at the same time.
Claudia tells Toyah that she should dump Imran because it turns out he knew that there was a bail hostel project and he hadn't told anybody.
And that's not what it was. That's not what it was at all. There were rumours that there was going to be a bail hostel project around. Well, not rumours, there was the news. It's the building that is now the...
Why are you correcting me when I read out exactly what you wrote?
Because maybe I wrote it out wrong. It's fine. The building that's now the Undertaker's was going to be a bail hostel, wasn't it? And this was a long-running story for a lot of 2019, and then it turned into nothing. And Claudia, who had her apartment was she in Red Bank at the time?
Well, she wanted to buy Trim Up North before it was Trim Up North and make it into a...
Yeah, I think you're right.
Fancy. They had the design of like all the red velvet curtains and stuff that she wanted to have in there.
But she had her flat around there as well, above it, and she's like, "Oh, I don't fancy living next to a bail hostel. Actually, I'm gonna sell up." Imran, by that point, had found out that the bail hostel project was not going ahead, but still just tries to offer 10 grand less than the asking price to Claudia, and she's absolutely fuming at this and tells Toyah, "You need to dump this guy. He's a massive liar. You could do better than him, basically."
He is a bit of a massive liar.
He's a massive lawyer as well. Very tall.
Yeah, massive.
Solicitor advocate, sorry.
And he can wear whatever
he fancies on top of that head of his, yeah.
So, this is again another example of Imran getting himself in trouble and people getting mad at him. Imran represents David in the case where Josh is stabbed in prison. But then Josh changes his account after he gets a little visit from Paul anyway. So thanks for your help, Imran, but didn't need it. And he also has to tell Tim that his marriage to Sally is null and void because Tim was under the impression that you could get married in a different country and it didn't count.
Yeah. So,
and it was
thanks
only
for your legal advice there. I don't think any of the rest of us plebs would have been able to tell you that, Tim.
Well, no, he knows everything about marriages and roofs.
So he starts doing a bit of jogging early 2020, doesn't he? This is the story that ended up not really going anywhere. The Craig loses weight and goes jogging and everything.
This was when the pandemic began, wasn't it? And Colson Smith had a project to lose weight. And he wanted Coronation Street to implement it into a storyline because he was like, if I have to do it for work, then I'll definitely do it for definite.
So Imran does a bit of like two, maybe it was just one.
Twice.
Runs with Craig, but he ducks out and goes off to the cinema instead because it's too much for him. Fair enough. He also that year takes on his biggest case yet. This is Yasmin's case after she stabs Jeff in the neck with the broken wine bottle last May. And we get to see some scenes with him, quite a lot of scenes actually, of him visiting Yasmin in prison and first just trying to persuade her to plead not guilty because she's basically been brainwashed by Jeff, hadn't she? And she's like, "Oh, I did it, throw the book at me," and he has to kind of get her out of that funk and then also try and get her off, which he does successfully manage to do.
Well, this is where we had the big discussion on the podcast about how do you get out of actually really doing the thing that you're accused of doing, but you did it because he was being a dick.
Yeah, it worked.
And apparently you can.
But before that, Imran was also caught up in this Oliver storyline. Poor old Oliver. If you remember him. Dead. Ollie. Has he been dead a year now? No, he's been dead a year at this point. Has he? I've already forgotten about him. Sorry, Leanne. So Oliver was Leanne's son who had mitochondrial disease, was it? He was very seriously ill. Massive story in 2020. And Toyah decides... Yeah, at the same time. Toyah decides to put the fostering thing on hold because she thought it was a little bit insensitive, what with Leanne imminently losing her child. However, Leanne is very benevolent and gives them her blessing on it. Doesn't quite keep that up all the way, but nice one anyway. Imran worries that he has screwed up at the fostering interview because they bring up the fact that his family tried to kidnap Rana that one time, and he loses his cool, but they still manage to get a foster kid at the end of the year anyway. Leanne begs for Imran to represent her when she tries to sue the hospital over their alleged mistreatment of Oliver, because she gets it into her head, doesn't she, that the hospital has basically given up on him and is just leaving him to die. and she
Well,
goes
they have a disagreement because the hospital's saying, well, there's nothing more we can do and he's suffering. We need to withdraw support and let him die naturally. And Steve agreed, but Leanne didn't.
Yeah, as the story went on, it was just Leanne lost ally after ally, didn't she? And she tried to get Imran to join her in suing the NHS, and Imran's like, don't think we should be doing that at the moment.
It's a bad look for my character. Yeah, I was shagging around fine. Suing the NHS is character suicide.
Yeah, but Leanne didn't take this, and she goes a bit nuts and traps herself in his office with her. And this is the point when word comes in from the hospital that Oliver's gone into cardiac arrest, and she ends up getting to the hospital and agrees to turn off the life support machine. It was really great stuff. But that ended that involvement from Imran. But his biggest triumph of the year was absolutely the 60th anniversary week, where he gets to stand up there in court and
have a go at Jeff.
Have a go at Jeff, basically.
Yeah, like you're
professional having a go at.
Right,
because
arsehole.
I think it was supposed to be Paula Martin that was going to be defending or barristering or whatever the word is for Yasmin in court, but she gets signed off from work, and I don't think we haven't seen Paula since.
It
have we?
doesn't make sense.
She's gone off to the BBC.
Did the actress just go, or did they say we can't do it for COVID?
I can't remember.
Like, why do we have to have? Sometimes Coronation Street does this, where they're like, we have to read the sick note from the character for why they're not in the scene, and you know why they're not there.
I do kind of feel sorry for her. That character of Paula just lost her way when Sophie left, when Brooke went off on maternity, didn't she? There was no point to Paula being in the show, and
not really.
And until she comes back, there's not really any point of her coming back. But yeah, she's got work, hasn't she? She's
got her own stuff to
Sterling. She's doing stuff on the BBC. Anyway, so Imran is there defending her on the case, and he reveals all the evidence about Jeff being there to intimidate Elaine. Didn't he? When he claimed that Elaine was dead.
He did a load of research.
He did a good job. That's one thing you can say about Imran. He is a hard worker. If he gets a case, he will not stop. He won't rest until he's done his darndest to get all the evidence that he can piece together, even if all that evidence consists of is a cartoon drawn by Nina.
He's got very poor work-life balance.
He does, definitely. Yeah, right through the night, does he? Anyway, success. Yasmin is let off or exonerated.
They're like,
or whatever
oh,
legal
you
term
get
is.
one. Everyone gets one stab in the neck.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, honestly,
He
sounds like
he
he's
had it
being,
coming.
yeah,
being
a massive arsehole.
Lovely Christmas for Imran and Toyah last year, because they find out that they've been approved as foster parents, and they get little baby Mason.
It's just like the story of that baby in the manger. I've forgotten his name.
That other Christmas baby story.
Yeah.
It was a fairly bleak Christmas on the whole last year in Weatherfield, and we had Yasmin being haunted by Jeff over Christmas dinner and everything. But the one lovely story was these two having the baby, and Toyah, we know, has wanted a baby forever, and she's not able to conceive herself, and it was really nice
really
stuff.
Cute.
It was a moment of calmness, and aren't they in a lovely relationship sort of moment in amongst all the madness of usual Weatherfield winter time. But he kind of screws up a little bit, doesn't he? Because when the baby's given back, Imran is contacted by the fostering people saying, look, we got another one, we got a whole conveyor belt of babies here, do you fancy this one?
No.
And Imran says no, because he thinks it's a little bit too soon after Toyah, because Toyah does get very into the whole being a foster mum thing, doesn't she? And
I don't think it's something you should half-arse.
She's seeming to get a little bit obsessed by it again, and Imran says, let's have a bit of a breather. Toyah finds out about this, obviously not so happy, but they make up because they're such a lovely couple.
He didn't even ask her, he just decided.
Which is, again,
naughty Imran.
Another character trait of Imran, I think. He thinks that he's always in the right.
Yeah, he does.
Quite often he is, and he thinks he's doing what's best. I don't think there's any malice often. I'm not going to say ever. No, he's not a malicious person, is he?
No,
he thinks that he's...
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
He thinks he's doing what's best for everybody without actually consulting anybody else.
Typical man.
And this has kind of been his downfall a little bit recently. this year, Gemma, we had really, really quiet start to 2021 for Imran and Toyah, didn't we? And everyone, I saw so many like forum posts and tweets and everything saying, when's Imran and Toyah going to get their story?
Yeah.
We're in it now.
I know.
How are you liking it,
Be careful what you wish for.
But it's all been around Kelly, hasn't it? And
yeah. So he gets appointed to represent Kelly after she collapses after taking drugs that were sold to her by Simon. And she gets released without charge, but she doesn't want to go back to her foster parents.
Where have her old foster parents been during this whole trial?
They're like, what's
they even turned up
nightmare?
at all? Because we get to hear a few things about, I don't like it, I got my foster brother, he gets more attention and everything. But you think that these other two might, show an interest a little bit if she's on trial for murder, or they're just again saying we had a lucky escape there.
One thing that's quite interesting about the fostering that happens on Coronation Street is they only ever seem to foster one child at a time. But obviously there are foster parents who have multiple children. I wonder if they're ever going to do that with Toyah and Imran.
It depends how long they last, to be honest. Things are not looking good for them at the moment.
What, as a couple?
Yeah.
Well, Kelly doesn't want to go back to her foster parents, and she finds out that Toyah and Imran are foster parents, and she's like, oh, I'll come and live with you. And Imran's like, well, don't know about that, but let me just check. Oh no, Kelly asks Toyah.
Yeah, Kelly marches up to Toyah in your street and says, I know
be
you.
Your kid.
Yeah.
And Toyah's like, wow, I admire your guts.
Yeah.
Let's do it, Imran.
Well, the problem that Imran has is obviously she's the daughter of Rick Neelan, who he believes is responsible for the death of his father, and he has to his sister. Sorry, he gave Hassan that stroke, and so he has to battle with that constant reminder.
He's like, I don't judge you for it, but you are the spawn of Satan.
No, it's you are the spawn of Satan, but I don't judge you for it.
That's what I just said.
No, you said the other way around.
What did I say?
No, you said I don't judge you for it, but you are the spawn of Satan. And I said you are the spawn of Satan, but I don't judge you for it. Well, that's the takeaway here.
We're different people. We have different ideas. It goes sour pretty quickly because Kelly gets accused of murdering Seb. And Imran's like, no way.
They didn't say that. We didn't sign up for this.
No, look how small she is. She's blonde. She wouldn't do anything wrong. I'm going to defend you in court. And I'm going to work really hard. And for hours and hours and hours. And you can tell because I'm in my office with the light on.
At night.
Exactly. Sabine comes back. She is the hotshot lawyer who's defending Corey.
See, I think I don't remember, but I don't think in the original incarnation of Sabine that she was a lawyer. I think that's been a little bit of a retcon, or at least it wasn't mentioned. I
thought she was.
I don't remember.
I thought she always
I honestly don't remember, but she's certainly been given a personality now, which I don't think she had before.
No, I don't think so either. She's like, hi, I'm back. And I'm here to freak you out and make your case rubbish, which is a bit of a weird strategy. But the thing is that they can't work together because Corey's defence is, it wasn't me, it was you. So it's a bit difficult for them to cooperate. He tries to get the trial delayed, even though Abby and Toyah are like, just get over and done with. I can't bother this anymore.
This was another example of him deciding to what he thinks is best and not consulting Toyah in this. Toyah just does not be such a pushover, really. I think that she needs to
stand up for yourself.
Yeah, she does. She really does.
She's enabling him by being so agreeable. Anyway, yeah, Toyah and Abby are like, I've looked on Twitter and people are like, God, it's dragging on. If you delay it any further, we're going to get nothing but moan. Hashtag Corey, hashtag
hashtag
So anyway, even though he tries to get the trial delayed, he's unsuccessful, but he does sort of hold his own against Sabine.
He does a good job.
Even though
not good enough.
He's, hasn't got as much money and he hasn't got a massive team of invisible worker bees that she seems to have. But it's all in vain because Kelly is found guilty and Corey is found not guilty and Imran is like, I'm going to appeal. But he's so shook up by his failure as a foster father and a barrister advocate, or whatever it is.
Solicitor advocate, please.
He goes, gets drunk, gets in a cab with Sabine and heads to her place. But what really happened, we still don't know.
As of the time of recording, we still don't know. We certainly have our theories.
Toyah finds out that Imran was seen in town in a bar, and Sabine accuses him of sleeping with somebody. He admits that he did, but he won't say who it was, because we thought it was Sabine up until very recently, but now we know it's a mystery lady or man. And
presumably lady. But Toyah is oblivious, and they agree to try fostering another child, who I'm sure will be incredibly dull. Well, we
have no great interesting backstory.
We found out that
this
is a 4-year-old called Elsie, because that
yes.
was the last episode we saw when they've been paired up with
Can
somebody
I just
already.
say what a massively bold move it is to give a child this incredibly iconic
it's the Coronation
name.
Street. There's a lot to live up to, isn't there?
It really makes me think, why have they called this kid Elsie? Because it is a name that comes with lots of baggage, but it's a 4-year-old child.
Well, I think like
is it going to be? Are we going to actually ever see this kid?
We'll find out. Won't
What
we?
do you mean? What are you talking about?
No, more
I
children.
know people are calling kids like Bartholomew or whatever. It's not about that. I'm talking about on the show. To have a child called Elsie.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I expect we'll see.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like at the end of Harry Potter. Like, oh, there's another kid called Harry Potter. I wonder what he's going to do with his life. Probably nothing of consequence. It's just a coincidence.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
Do you see what I'm getting at?
So yeah. So this is where we are with Imran at the moment. And how are you feeling about him?
See, I'm not as mad about his infidelity as you are, because I have separated it out, and I've said this before on the show about how much you're willing to give a character the benefit of the doubt depending on how much you like them. And as we all know, Tim will never get the benefit of the doubt. Anything he does is wrong as far as I'm concerned, because I don't like him. Whereas Imran could probably say, well, I don't think Kelly did it, but I'm going to kick Nina to death just to make sure that there's no witnesses that can... And I'd be like, that's just a strategy. That's just a law strategy that they do.
I just wish they hadn't, because, you know, we had my lovely Tyrone and Fizz split up earlier this year. We had my Johnny and Jenny. I don't want these two splitting up.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on... If they ultimately split up, then I will be mad at Imran because it's his fault. But I just think, I don't know, I think maybe the fact that they're making Toyah such a pushover, it makes me think that maybe she's just going to burst into like a big rant.
He
and
needs
go,
to have some kind of consequence for it. If she just says, oh, well, you know, don't do it again, waggle your finger, yeah, you were very stressed, then he's not going to learn a lesson. I think
maybe you should stop doing cases that you care about and start like conveyancing where you don't have to actually do any work.
No, I think that he needs to really get close to losing Toyah, but ultimately take her back. Because I think they're a really good couple together. They're not sort of kind of seedy, dodgy.
I like them.
They're both kind of middle class-ish, and she is a Battersby, I know. They're professional. They're very homely, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not like lurid
nice
sex
not
pests,
the American sense.
Like Carla and Peter, like knocking all over.
They're just a cosy family,
leaving juices everywhere,
which I kind of like.
Yeah,
they're very relatable. I would say for people like us.
Yeah,
I would say that Toyah and Imran are some of the most relatable characters on the street. And I like that sort of person. And, and it's a real shame if they have to break up. And if they did, I don't know who either of them would end up with. I mean,
to be honest, I wouldn't have necessarily put them together in the first place.
No, would I? But
they work really well together because they've got a lot of chemistry.
When they bother giving them a scene, this is it. And I don't know whether Corrie don't know what to do with them apart from let's make them have a veggie lasagna joke again.
Yeah, but I like the fostering aspect because I think that that's a really Corrie thing to do. But I'm worried, I'm getting worried now that Imran has fathered a child with whoever it is that he's shagged around with, because that would be the nail in the coffin. Unless whoever it is sort of a kind of disposable character. Like I've seen some people saying it might have been Laura, who's Kelly's mum. What if it was her and then she died in a horrible tragic accident, and then Toyah and Imran can raise the love child? How convenient.
That could work, I suppose. Yeah. I just wish they hadn't. It's an unnecessary wrinkle, and I know that drama is all about that. But
I know a lot of people have criticised the story with Sabine and Imran, saying that it kind of besmirches what they're trying to do with the hate crime story. But honestly, once they had the murder, I think any parallel with Sophie's story is over. I don't think Coronation Street is trying to recreate the entire story of Sophie Lancaster. And honestly, in my opinion, I know other people have different opinions on this, I think it would be disrespectful if they did a carbon copy.
Yeah, no.
But I understand that people have the opposite opinion, and they think that anything that deviates from the story is disrespectful. It's just two different ways of looking at something, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of Imran and Toyah, going back to that, I did find a quote from Charlie. I don't know where this is from, but he said on paper he also didn't think that Toyah and Imran would work. In the past, Toyah's been sort of flighty, and Imran's been a smug, womanising lawyer. When they were paired together, they complemented each other in a chalk and cheese way. So I don't think they're too chalk and cheese, really. I think it's
right to say that Imran was kind of a very, he was a bit more Adamy.
Maybe
if you're going to define anyone as a smug, womanising lawyer, out of Imran and Adam, it wouldn't be Imran.
No.
I think he flies under the radar because he's got his lovely eyelashes and he just goes, "What, me? I wouldn't do such a thing."
Maybe.
And then he goes and shags around.
Maybe. I don't think that Charlie is a particularly fan of some of Imran's decisions. I think he thinks that... I think I saw an interview somewhere recently saying that he thinks Imran's actions on the night of the verdict, where he goes off and sleeps with somebody, were pretty deplorable and unforgivable. And he's also said in the past that he doesn't think he'd get on with Imran either, because he says Charlie says that he's a bit more he's not quite so grown up as Imran. Imran's got his head screwed on more tightly. This quote here.
Imran does seem to be like a really kind of like he knows exactly when to descale his dishwasher.
Yeah.
And then he comes into the kitchen and he opens his mouth and holds his finger up, and Toyah goes, "I know exactly what you're going to say, and I've already got the tablets out."
Yeah. So we said at the beginning, you mentioned the fact that Imran's changed quite a bit since the beginning. So what would you say were the main facets of his personality that are different?
Well, I think he's more compassionate, and he's like a moral crusader, isn't he? I don't think he's insufferable, but he could definitely get there. If they're not careful, he could become really irritating. But he always decides what to do based on the moral correctness of the situation.
Yeah, and I respect and admire the character for that, actually.
But he obviously doesn't all the time, because he wouldn't go, "Oops,
no,
I did a shag."
Yeah. Do you think that he's been well integrated into the street in the past 4 years? I think with COVID and everything,
it's been tricky, hasn't it? Because he came in right as everyone was going crazy about Bruno Langley leaving, and then that was a crisis that they had to fight. And then as things became settled down a bit more, then we suddenly had COVID to deal with, and every character is kind of isolated.
It feels to me that he's still very much just with Toyah or whoever he's defending at the time, and then he'll get a new little friend group for a bit.
He feels like a character who just happens to live there rather than a part of a community. Like, you can imagine him like going, "Oh look, Toyah, I think we should move to so and so," and then just going and not ever speaking to anybody there again.
I think that being able for them to have a proper family would be good to integrate them more into the street and see them becoming more an established couple, because they don't particularly feel like a family. I definitely believe that they love each other, and I think that when they get the lines about, "Oh, I really love you" and everything, I certainly believe it. But
the other bad thing
more needs to be done, I think, to get them integrated into the family. Like, he hasn't got any friends on the street.
Not the bad thing, but the thing about Imran is he's not a lad, and he doesn't hang out with any of the blokes. Like, you can't imagine Kev going, "Oh, we need another person to go bowling. Who should we ask?" And Tim going, "Let's get Imran. He's always a big laugh."
He's not into the football. He's not into cars. He's not into the beer particularly, and So he's a bit of an outsider in that sense. Although he does very much like wine. Do you remember? We didn't mention this yet. The wine tasting scene at the bistro a few years ago, which I very much enjoyed that.
He's so funny.
Punny, drunky Imran, brilliant.
Yes, we don't get to see that side of him, do we?
No. Although I think over the past year or so, maybe we've seen a little bit more of Imran in his civvies. He was very much just the extra lawyer of the street for a while, I think, and now we've got to see more of his home life and everything, which making him more rounded as a character.
I'd just like him to get a guy friend. I wonder if he could be friends with Adam.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not a massive fan of Adam particularly. I think that Adam is probably, Imran works with him, but he doesn't necessarily approve of his method somewhere. I can't imagine. I don't know what they would talk about particularly. They don't seem to have very much in common, those two.
I'll tell you who he would get on with, and that's Ken or Daniel. Can you imagine them sitting around with their being
all academic together,
wanking over poetry?
Daniel, maybe. I mean, he was living with both Craig and Ryan at one point as well, and I never got the impression that they were that close.
But if you think about some of the qualities that make Ken and Daniel similar, you could say the same of Imran, like idealistic, educated, striving for something beyond what they have, moralistic, family men that didn't perhaps have exactly the sort of family that they expected to.
Yeah, I'd like to see something
shagging around.
I'd like to see him befriend somebody, because I'd
well,
like
look,
to see
2 of the year he's been on the show for nearly 4 years, and a good 2 of those, coming up to 2 now. He hasn't been able to really interact with characters outside of the bubbles that they've made.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. I mean, we could see more of him and Nick together, because they've had stories together in the past. Their paths have crossed. Do you remember that scene where... I'm sure... Wasn't it when... I can't remember what the purpose of it was now, but do you remember when both Imran and Nick were trapped out on Leanne's balcony in their pants or something?
God, no, I don't remember.
I think Toyah had Imran in the flat and Nick had Leanne in the flat, and they were kind of shoving each other. They're like, "Oh, we can't let my sister know that my man's here. Go out on the balcony." And then when they looked, they were both shoved out there or something. That was kind of funny, even though I don't remember it very well. Maybe Nick. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think at heart he is a good person.
Yeah.
He's just.
But I think he feels like the sort of person who maybe is more overly performative in a moral sense because he knows of his own shortcomings. Like, is he really masking his sort of infidelity by all these crusades to kind of, is he trying to sort of like make up for this deficiency in his personality by going off and trying to save the world one case at a time?
Would you say he has issues with self-confidence?
No.
He once he's there up on stage, as it were, in court, he does do a good job, but I think he's got some insecurities about himself. Yeah, I've enjoyed seeing his rehearsal scenes, actually.
I think that's more to just sort of show how dedicated he is, and I think you'd be a bit nuts if you were like, I'm just going to wing it. A bit of self-doubt is very healthy, I guess.
He doesn't come across as being overly confident and have the same swagger as Adam, has he? And I think that's what makes him a bit more appealing and likeable.
Although I've heard somebody described arrogance as confidence in a person that you don't like. And definitely that is a pretty good description.
Yeah. What would you like to happen with Gary? Because this dangling thread has been going since, when was it, 2019 or so now, so 2.5 years now. Gary has still been able to walk free, having brutally murdered Rick Neelan in self-defense.
It's very easy for us to say, well, they're obviously going to have to resolve this in some manner, but how are they going to do it? But time has passed so quickly, and quite a lot of Corrie viewers have probably forgotten what's happened, and we keep forgetting who knows what.
I'm getting more forgetful
getting
in my
less
old age. I
relevant.
don't know whether it's me just getting a bit more dizzy as I'm getting older.
I just don't want,
or whether Corrie's spacing things out too much. But it feels like too big a thread to leave, and I really do think that Imran needs to have the upper hand over Gary Windass eventually. He is responsible ultimately for Rana's death, totally, and Imran doesn't know this, and I am very much looking forward to the episode when it all comes out and Imran gets some kind of revenge or gets to see justice, or because I don't think Gary's future on the soap is surely time locked. He can't carry on for this forever, and I'd like it to be Imran at the end of the day that sees him face justice.
Judging from what happened with Pat Phelan, where Anna Windass was the one who ultimately killed him and brought his reign of terror to an end, and it was because she was like the first victim of his evil doings.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't really like the character and she wasn't actually in the show, you know, she like escaped from prison or something, and you know, came back for one episode just to dispatch him. It makes me think that Coronation Street does have form for this being Imran's sort of destiny to bring Gary down.
Destiny is right, it feels like.
It's been such a long time since Gary's even done anything wrong.
But it's still not been forgotten because, I mean, even in court recently, Imran brought up, was it, he brought up Rana in was it in Corey's case? Yeah, it was when Kelly was getting a sentence recently, wasn't it?
He's like, look, my sister got a roof landed on her head.
By her dad.
The
fact that they're still mentioning it, but it's a bit silly that it's lasting quite so long, so I would hope in the next year at least he can get that justice. Yeah, and I'd like it to be part of a big story as well, because the thing that I'm finding with Imran is that he's always on the cusp of a big story. He's never like front page, the centre of this is the Imran story. This is the someone else story, and maybe he's got a part in it.
But he's had some really major parts in, you know, being in the middle of this hate crime story, being in the middle of the Jeff story.
Well, the more stories they have that are to do with crime on Coronation Street and issues and things, the more they're going to need lawyers. So he's been very blessed, I think, Charlie DeMello, with getting this story where he's defending Kelly, my biggest story of the year, hot on the heels of the Yasmin one last year.
Yeah.
I just would like him to have a story that isn't him being a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether being a foster parent is strong enough material to base a big story around. I don't know what I want particularly for Imran, but I feel that because Charlie's been getting his nominations for Best Actor and everything recently, hasn't he? It feels like he should be one of the go-tos. He's the right age. He's popular,
good-looking chap.
They need to say,
luscious
right, so
beard.
what do we want Imran
Very
to do
tall.
next year? And
Hasn't got a weird haircut at the moment.
Not yet.
Could very well do. Get one. I would advise against it.
That's what I'd like to see. I'd like a non-lawyer story for Imran and Toyah.
Right.
Next year, please. That would be lovely.
If they make it.
If they make it,
they
exactly.
could both get murdered in the Super Soap Week.
Mate, I certainly hope not.
I'm paranoid.
I'm a little bit paranoid about it as well. But I think it's fine. I think it's just gonna be Corey or something.
No, I'll be freaking out. I am actually I'm getting a bit nervous about this.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. But you've been adamant throughout the year that you don't want Fizz and Tyrone to get back together after Tyrone left.
Yeah,
Fizz.
no, that's right.
But you're thinking differently about Imran and Toyah, you're saying?
I've never really felt like I had an opinion over this idea of which is worse out of emotional cheating versus sleeping with someone and saying, oh, it didn't make any, I didn't care about it, didn't mean anything to me, because I always thought they're both as bad as each other. But really, when it comes down to it, what Tyrone has done is far worse of betrayal than what Imran has done.
Why?
Because
He pursued a relationship.
Tyrone, just went.
Fell in love with someone else.
Everything that we built together means nothing because Alina's sexy, and I'll see you later, toodaloo. And I don't mind wrecking our lives and our children's lives because I think this is love. And then 5 minutes later, actually, no, I don't even know where Romania is. Whereas, if Imran comes along and he's like, I was drunk, I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, but Toyah, she's been cheated on in the past, hasn't she? We've just been watching 2003 Toyah get her boyfriend John. Maria had it off with him, and then this is why Toyah left Coronation Street for the first time back in the early 2000s. And I think it might bring all that sort of stuff up to her again. She deserves better, but also she has got, I adamantly believe, a good man.
But what Imran, if he promises to never do it again?
He just needs to stop making decisions without her.
Yeah, should I sleep with this lady? I think so. I think
she
it's
needs
what
to go
Toyah
with
would
the
want.
backbone as well. So that's basically it for Imran, isn't it? I really, really do enjoy the character an awful lot. And I hope we can see him on the show for a long time. But if he does end up leaving, I'd like it to be a happy ending with Toyah. Maybe both of them can go off together.
No,
I don't want them to leave, but I'd like to think that like Lloyd and Andrea, they're living happily away on the Channel Islands or something somewhere.
One thing I will say is that if there ever was a time to start a juice bar in London, surely it's now.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Why?
Because people like juice.
Oh, what better reason do you need? I mean, obviously the other reason that Imran is so special to us is because of Charlie's relationship with the podcast, and he's listening to this. Hello, Charlie. And I remember the first time that Charlie interacted with us. I don't know why this has stuck in my head so much, but we'd found this online Family Guy character creator app thing, and we were making Family Guy caricatures of Corrie characters, and then Charlie made one of Imran in a suit, and he's like, "What about this one? Look, it's me, it's Imran."
I don't remember that at all.
And this and we were like, "Oh, it's one of the actors on Coronation
actor.
Street is replied to a tweet, how lovely," and it just kind of snowballed from there, hasn't it? And he's been so lovely to us ever since. This was back in early 2018, and I think possibly he's the most recent convert to Conversation Street from the Coronation Street cast, and we've met up with him loads of times, and he gave us that set tour a few years ago. He's been very, very kind to us, and very supportive of the podcast, so thank you, Charlie, for all the support you've given over the year, and your friendship as well.
Definitely, I can't add anything else, can I?
Lovely
If we both do it, it just becomes bum licking. Not doing that.
I think we're done. I think that is Imran's story so far, the first 4 years, and long may the story keep Imraning. And...
What? Look, love Imran, love Charlie D'Amelio. He's a great bloke. Imran not so good, but hopefully he and Toyah can persevere, because honestly I love them together. I think they both work really well together, and I want to see them be challenged with some really meaty storylines. I mean, this seems like a pretty the thing is, I think about this story, this hate crime story, it's been a very condensed and quite intense story, and then I think to sort of like Leanne, who was in every episode for a year. Not that I want to wish that workload on.
I wouldn't want to wish that workload on anyone.
Yeah.
Jane Danson, I don't know how she does it.
But it still would be nice.
Yeah, it's been very nice to see more of Imran and Toyah, because for the first half of the year, I was seeing post after post after post on social media saying, when are Imran and Toyah going to get their storyline? Yeah. And they've got one now, but it still feels like they're part of someone else's story. I don't know. But
Michael, aren't we all?
I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah. That's it. Long may he continue.
Yay!
So thank you everybody for listening. I hope
you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think about Imran.
Has he lived up to
who's your favourite lawyer in Coronation Street?
Adam or Imran? Who would you prefer to have defending you in court? Or Paula, indeed.
I think I'd rather have Paula.
Yeah.
Or Sabine.
Less soapy baggage.
I think the female lawyers on Corrie, because we don't really focus too much on their private lives. I think they seem more competent.
Yeah.
You don't see Paula walking around rehearsing speeches in a tiny little...
Sabine in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
with a cup of coffee, black coffee, yeah.
Gotta get this speech right.
Yeah, do let us know your thoughts on Imran. Do you like him as much as we do? Do you think that he deserves redemption after cheating on Toyah?
But, you know, like I said, who knows what happened? He could have been roofied.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for something. But I think
loophole.
It's going to come out soon.
Is there, like, you know how, like, in every leap year, women are allowed to propose to men?
Yeah.
And otherwise it's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a day in the year where you get a free
pass?
Yeah. Is there?
I don't know. I don't know why you're inquiring for this for, Gemma.
Just let me know when it is.
You can go meet up with
Imran. I have to wait for another year then, won't I? Because it will be around this time next year.
That's true. Right, we are done. It's late. We're going to finish this now. Thank you everybody for listening. Do write in to conversationstreet@gmail.com with any feedback that you have. Tweet us, Facebook us. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on...
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. And Patreon.
All the different ones. Podcatcher, Podbean.
I don't know.
Podcast. Yeah. Cast Times.
We'll be back this weekend to find out what we thought of this week's Coronation Street and everything else, and the latest updates for Toyah and Imran and all the other residents of Coronation Street. But until then, goodbye.